On Tuesday, Justice and Correctional Services Minister Ronald Lamola presented a 21.5 billion rand budget for the 2021-2022 financial year. The bulk of the budget will go towards combating crime, fraud and corruption, with the National Prosecuting Authority receiving about a fifth of that budget. The rollout of the Special Sexual Offences Court is expected to continue, and certain judicial services like maintenance and protection orders will be made available online. While the COVID-19 pandemic continued to impact negatively on backlogs, high conviction rates by courts at all forums were maintained. Minister in the department, that's Ronald Lamola, joins us now via our video link to give us a sense of the department's priorities for the financial year ahead. Minister, great to see you. Thanks so much for making time for us here on the AM Report. If I may, Minister, start with an issue that's top of mind for many South Africans at the moment. In fact, it links to your opening remarks in your budget, where you emphasize the importance of the rule of law and the fact that, legal advisory services that are provided to the country must be maintained. A high quality must be maintained. It brings to mind a situation currently before the Constitutional Court that has to do with the contempt of court application, if you like, involving the former president. There's great apprehension, call it anxiety, around how long it's taking for the Constitutional Court itself to make any kind of pronouncement and the perception that creates. While appreciating the difference between the executive and the court's separation of powers, if I can just begin with getting your reflections about where that is and what that means for our democracy and the department that you're overseeing.
Yeah, obviously that we have to leave it to the courts. No one has the right to pressurize the courts to make a decision, because that on its own is interference with the court's work. Judges need to make decisions and in a manner that is fair, is reasonable, and without any influence. And I think the court will, at the appropriate time, deliver the judgment. And I think that is what we should allow the courts to have, a life of its own. And it has always proven that court to come to the party and when required and when it's an appropriate time, I believe they will be able to deliver the judgment.
Right. And Minister, what will also be worth considering, of course, is a value contained in our Constitution. The fact that justice must not only be done, but it must be seen to be done within a reasonable time. That's a consideration that's made. I mean, with that in mind for you, are you worried at all about the time it's taking to sort out things like the one that we've just mentioned?
No, I'm not worried because the Court has proven over time for decades that it's able to deliver a judgment. And I do believe that at the appropriate time, when the judges of the courts have considered all the arguments, they will be able to deliver the judgment.
All right, let's speak to issues closely related to the budget. Again, top of mind for many people is the concerns that have been raised from the State Capital Commission of Inquiry needing yet another extension. We've heard in the past various members of Cabinet, Treasury, Finance Minister Tito Mboweni mentioning that no more money will be allocated. It appears that sentiment is changing slightly. What stance is the Department of Correctional Services taking, considering that if the money is going to be forthcoming, in part, it's going to come from your budget?
Yeah, that stance has never changed, and it will never change. We want the Commission to be able to finalize its work, and it should be able to do so expeditiously. But we have to be in appreciation of the practical realities that the Commission is confronted with. And in the last period, as you have said, the Commission needed us to also help with the resources for the Commission to conclude its work. Between ourselves and the National Treasury, we were able to find some resources to help the Commission to conclude its work. And from what I've heard from the judge when he was speaking about this consideration is the fact that in the past 2 months, he had expected that he will be dealing with the compilation of the report. But the reality is that we have all seen him in the past 2 months working, still listening to evidence, and he has also pushed himself by even listening to evidence during the day and at night. He was almost working both a day shift and a night shift to push that the Commission must finalize its work, and we should appreciate that kind of an effort. from the chairperson of the commission. And I think what he has said is that he will be finalizing the evidence, and if he requests any extension, it will be to conclude the report, because we need the report. So we have no choice but to look at the reasonableness of the request and say, let's allow the commission to conclude in terms of that report.
Do you have money to give to the commission?
No, we do not have, but as you are aware, we have already given the commission money for the last extension, and we don't know whether the commission will come back for the next extension looking for further resources. But we believe what we have given them may enable the commission to cross the River Jordan.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting consideration to be made, because we know that typically the longer the commission goes, the more money it needs. So as things stand, the commission hasn't necessarily asked you for more money. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you should remember that what was also making the commission to require more money is because there was still a lot of investigation. There was also evidence leaders and so forth. When the commission now is busy finalizing its report, it will no longer be the same as requiring all investigations and so forth, because all the information will be before the commission. It may no longer require the lots of money that it required previously, and that's why we say at this stage we have not received any requests for more resources, and we believe they will be able to cross the River Jordan.
Right. From what we've heard in your budget, it appears the lion's share is, perhaps many will argue, rightly going to efforts to try and fight crime. There's a great move to move things online as well to try and reduce things like congestion at certain courts, etc., etc. But Minister, what are we doing differently this time around? We all know that throwing money at the issue doesn't necessarily mean it can be solved as quickly as it needs to be in a country like ours.
Yes, we all know that, but as you will have seen, the courts that we have put with regards to crime, but also the efforts we have said we are going to put on corruption, is to add 4 additional special commercial crimes court that are going to help us also to ease the congestion in our courts in the backlog, but also the various online platforms that we have announced. The one that relates to maintenance, it will help us to deal with the congestion and also people effectively accessing the application maintenance online, the domestic one online, and also the deceased estate administration. They will also be able to access online during this financial year. That is our intention. That will also help us to ease the congestion, but it will also enable us to deliver services expeditiously.
Yeah, and the obvious question to be asked is around whether or not a move to a more of an online service will be able to cater for everyone. I imagine that's something that needs to be considered as well in a country like ours, again, where there's something like the digital divide. In other words, it's a solution in part that may not be accessible to all South Africans.
Yeah, that was the thinking in the past when cell phones came to South Africa. But everyone now in the country is connected somehow through a cell phone. And you can have a WhatsApp discussion with anyone in any part of the country. So we have to start somewhere. For example, we have already started at the Durban port with the online application for domestic violence form, which people can now do it. It's the first pilot project. And the lessons we're going to learn there, we are then going to duplicate them or use them across the country. So obviously, we are going to learn lessons as we move along and work to improve the system so that everyone in any part of the country is able to access our services.
Yeah, many people in the country obviously relying on things like legal aid, I beg your pardon. 2 billion rand, if my understanding serves me correctly, being allocated to things like legal service as well. But there's also been in the backdrop a lot of concerns around things like the administration that takes place within the legal service. And this drives home the idea of something I've already mentioned before. Giving money is one thing. Making sure that money is used effectively is another.
Legal Aid South Africa is the best law firm in the country. It has been voted many times through client surveys. So that one has proven itself. What is different this time is that we're also extending the mandate of Legal Aid South Africa to be of service to farm dwellers and some farm workers in terms of evictions, because the Legal Aid South Africa has got its presence across the country. And this is an agreement we are reaching with the Department of Rural Development to transfer their land rights management services. Because Legal Aid South Africa has provided these services over many years to crimes.
Minister, sorry if I can interrupt you there. Apologies. We're watching several stories as they develop. You'll know how these things work. We've been watching quite closely Health Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize, who was meant to give us an update of investigations taking place with Digital Vibes and the controversial contract entered into with the department.